Welcome back to True Crime Myth Podcast. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Michael.
Back in studio. Got another free episode this week for you.
We do. 2 in a row. We're getting out of control with this.
2 in a row. Another serial killer.
Way too much consistency.
Another serial killer from the 70s. That's
right.
That's our sweet spot, I think.
Well, I think that's just where most of them are. That's like saying, shark attacks happen in shallow water. Well, that's where the people are, bro.
That's where we were at in society.
Right.
We hadn't progressed enough to. Yeah, there was a perfect storm in the 70s.
Yeah, there was. Big Ed Kemper was around in this area in Santa Cruz.
Well, I mean, a perfect storm in the sense of like it was just like a breeding ground for serial killers. Like,
you're talking about overall?
Yeah, society wasn't like giving enough attention to mental health, as we'll get into with this case.
Right, and people just continued to hitchhike for some reason.
Yeah, a lack of surveillance cameras and no cell phones, and
that's right.
A lot of hitchhiking going on.
That's right.
Yeah,
the hitchhiking was the biggest problem.
Right. And
first,
then
the news was saying literally, "Hey guys, don't hitchhike."
Yeah.
People are still hitchhiking.
Yeah, and then also, like, we'll get into this case, but certain psychedelic drugs that can kind of mess with your brain chemistry,
right,
like LSD, for instance,
right,
were real big, and that played a lot into this guy's issues, and a lot of people died.
Yeah. He
Dude, some of the crimes
excessively.
The crimes in this one were shocking. I'm not going to lie. This one was like, I had my jaw open at certain points in this book that we read.
I think it's just because of the randomness and the suddenness.
One specific murder in this one, I was just like, holy shit, that happened.
Yes, they're dark. I feel like this book could have been a work of art if somebody who wasn't
written better, or narrated better.
Somebody who just wasn't all about the facts and just reading police reports and being all super logical.
Yeah.
Like, I would like to have had a little bit of Hollywood in this story because this could have been amazing.
Right.
It really could.
Oh, dude, it'd be a great movie if it was done right, by the right director.
Yeah. Quentin Tarantino.
Oh my God. Yeah, man, the church scene. Can you imagine that?
My God.
Oh my God, but done by Tarantino.
Yeah. Have we teased it enough? Should we get into this?
I think we have.
All right, let's go ahead and get into it.
Waking up now.
The phone woke you up. Don't answer, they'll know.
They know who you are.
Herbert Mullin, 25, butchered 13 strangers in 1973 because God told him to save California from earthquakes.
Going to pick up the phone. Stupid. Worthless stupid.
It is a lack of will, a lack of ability to initiate actions. People lose the ability to socialize. People lose the ability to produce language. And in particular, they lose the ability to have any pleasure. Imagine never again being able to enjoy pleasure in anything. Anything you eat, anything you see, anything you read, nothing.
So dumb. Waking up now.
Schizophrenia doesn't occur because your parents treated you badly or because some other insult. It is an organic brain syndrome. There are many different types of it. It's organic, it's physical, it's a physical illness from which people can suffer. I often say it's as physical as ingrowing toenails, just the downside more severe.
There are some forms of schizophrenia, particularly paranoid schizophrenia, where the patient develops a delusional system and they do things that seem senseless to us but make perfect sense within their system. And what we see as a wanton assault on innocent people, they basically may be seeing as a fight for their own survival.
Imagine what it is like to constantly hear these voices talking to you, saying things. You smell, you're bad, you're evil, you should die. Then other voices will tell them things, they'll tell them what to do, command them. You must go and jump off a bridge, you should go and shoot somebody. And then sometimes the voices will actually talk to each other about the person. So one will say to another, I don't like the trousers he's wearing today, or something like that. Then people also can get visions, they can see things, visual hallucinations, and sometimes they can feel things running up their skin or like electricity. This happens more often with drugs, but we see this. Or they can smell things or taste things. Now those would all be hallucinations. They're false perceptions, but they are as real to the person as anything that you or I hear or smell or taste.
now.
All right, our case this week was a guy by the name of Herbert Mullin.
That's right.
Not Mullins. I've noticed that people with the last name Mullin, I feel bad for you guys because everybody just adds an S to it. I actually
do.
I grew up with one of my best friends growing up. His last name was Mullin, and everyone, I witnessed it like 100 times just hanging out with him. Oh, Mullins, like, why are you adding an S? Like, no one does that to any other name but Mullin.
He's the only Mullin here.
Yeah, I even saw it on like articles I was reading. They were putting Mullins. I'm like, all right, you didn't research very well. But yeah, Herbert
Disregard.
Mullin. This was a serial killer in the 1970s. I've read some articles said that he was a spree killer. I would say no, because there was definitely lag between the murders. There was days at some points.
Yeah, but
I mean, it was all done in a short amount of time.
Yeah,
but it wasn't all in the same day. I feel like spree killing it has to be one straight event, like no sleep involved, no like lag time.
Within 24 hours is what you're saying, from start to finish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or at least all in in the same event, like Port Arthur Massacre, for instance, where it was one person.
Obviously, yeah, that's
where it was just trying to kill as many people as possible. A lot of the school shootings and stuff like that, I would say, are spree killing, not a serial killing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, but that being said, like a lot of these were spur of the moment. Obviously, coaxed on by his mental illness. This guy was one of the more mentally ill people that we've ever.
Maybe the most mentally ill killer that we've done, I think.
Yeah.
I mean,
he was in and out of mental hospitals getting treated. He was diagnosed on several occasions with schizophrenia. At one point, he was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia.
Yeah. From his first interview, you could tell.
Yeah. His path of thinking, his mindset, and like some of the things that you hear him explain wouldn't make sense to a normal person at all, but they make perfect sense to him.
Oh, God, yeah. They were crystal clear. He didn't understand why everyone didn't understand.
Didn't understand why if he doesn't kill this person, an earthquake's going to take a bunch of people out.
Right.
Yeah.
He had the theology that if he killed one, then he would spare thousands.
Yeah.
That God would have mercy
and
on us.
he would play religion into that in a way to justify it.
Right.
Because some older religions would say that if a certain number of people don't die, then a natural disaster is going to strike.
That's been a common theme through religions for years, like the Mayans.
Yeah.
I mean, with the sacrificial temple and the steps and all that. I mean, like they're not the only ones. Obviously, they're just like the most popular because they were so dramatic. But that's basically what he was doing. He was taking some of that.
It was sacrifice in a sense. Yeah. You didn't hear the word used a lot in studying him, human sacrifice, but that's basically essentially in his mind what he was doing was sacrificing one to save the bigger. It was for the greater good. He was saving thousands of lives in his own head. Although there's times where I'm not so sure I believed that's what he truly believed because it seemed like he enjoyed killing at a certain point. And when you look into the trial and the prosecution, they talked. He wasn't convicted of all of his murders for that reason because a couple of them were when they viewed he did these on a whim because he believed he was saving others, and then it seemed like a lot of them were revenge kills or trying to protect himself from getting caught. And so we'll get into that.
He did go on a little revenge spree, and also the brutality after post mortem.
Right.
That
what good does that do?
If your objective is just to kill somebody,
right?
What are you doing?
What are you hanging intestines from trees for?
Yeah, exactly. Oh. Well, we just went right with it. Right?
All right, so let's get into him. His name's Herbert Mullin. He was born April 18th, 1947 in Salinas, California. He shares a birthday with a lot of interesting people, and this is actually something that comes up. He discusses some of the a lot of stuff to do with his birthday.
Yeah, he does.
But we'll get into the people that came along since then that share a birthday with him, like David Tennant, the 10th Doctor.
Yeah, it's on Doctor Who.
Doctor Who.
I had to say it. My wife and Melody are like huge fans.
Okay, so if you're a Doctor Who fan, I don't know that reference.
There's a lot of them.
Kourtney Kardashian, great company there.
Oh yeah.
Conan O'Brien, Jeff Dunham. It's a funny group here. Jeff Dunham.
It is.
Miguel Cabrera.
Right.
Is that a pitcher?
Baseball player.
Pitcher.
No.
Batter.
First base. Yeah. Very good hitter. Yeah,
Okay.
He plays for Detroit.
James Woods.
James Woods.
Right. And now he didn't bring any of these up, but his birthday had some significance in his own mind because it came on April 18th, which was the same date as the devastating 1906 San Francisco earthquake. He believed that this had some like real significance. And that's part of why he was up to him to do these sacrifices to prevent another earthquake like that happening.
Right, and it was also a day where a famous person died.
Albert Einstein. He later found that out when he was studying books in a library he was reading a book about Albert Einstein, and then when he read that he had died on his own birthday, he was like, of course. You know, because he believed very strongly in reincarnation.
Right.
So I think part of him must have believed, okay, Albert Einstein died. I was born that day, so I'm like basically a reincarnation of Albert Einstein.
Coincidence? I think not.
Right?
Even though probably the freaking infirmary was full of babies.
Right. Yeah, it's him, though.
Yeah, it's definitely you.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of narcissism to this guy.
Right.
The world's like, you know,
and that's where you
protected
get to
by this guy killing people. So there's some narcissism there.
And that's where you get to the serial killer tendencies instead of the mentally ill tendencies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's something that spoke strong to me. It's like that's a tally in the serial killer column.
Absolutely. Now, his childhood, though, like was surprisingly normal, and he seemed normal. But that is a lot of these disorders and mental illnesses. They really don't show themselves until later on. And his seemed to appear a lot sooner than a lot of other people that get schizophrenia. It seems like it's like late 20s, early 30s. It starts to emerge.
Okay.
You know, like him. But I think some things accelerated it, which we'll get into, like the drug use and then like someone dying close to him. He grew up in Santa Cruz with his World War II veteran father.
Very strict father, very conservative.
Well, his mother was much more religious. The father kind of seemed like he went along with it.
He was a disciplinarian.
Told the kids that they're gonna, you know, your mother she's constantly quoting Bible scriptures, and they go to church service every week, and yeah, very religious. And the father kind of like made them.
Yeah, he was the hammer.
Yeah, but very loving at the same time. By all accounts, good parents. They tried hard.
Oh yeah, I don't mean like abusive. I just
not
mean
at all.
like, you know, he kept the kids in line. He ran a tight ship, but there was never a history of abuse for Herbert or any of his siblings.
But what's crazy is he would end up having like quote unquote daddy issues like big time throughout his life. He always was like obsessed with what his father thought of him, and like either trying to disappoint his father or trying to like get his father's approval.
I think the times when he was trying to disappoint his father was because he felt like he couldn't get his approval.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, fuck it, I'm gonna go the other way.
And he would do drugs and go the other direction.
Pretend,
You know what?
Take on this hippie persona.
You know,
which is
if you can't accept me, father, fuck you. I'm gonna do exactly what you don't want me to do.
Yeah, I'm gonna go study yoga.
Yeah, I'm gonna become a stripper.
Yeah.
He was voted he was popular in high school. He was good at sports. He was voted most likely to succeed. I guess that's to me. If you had to choose one of those categories, what would be your choice? Most likely to succeed's a good one. You know, like there's like the best eyes, best looking, best smile, most likely to succeed, class clown. All
I
those.
actually won a superlative.
Did you?
Yeah.
What'd you get?
I got most talented.
That fits you.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot of kids in the class.
Now you're being humble. I was on the final vote. I was one of the 3 voted for best eyes, but I lost.
Well, you have the best eyes to me, Lauren.
I
So,
appreciate that. At least in this room, right?
Yeah, definitely.
It was a small class.
Right. It's a small class.
I still lost. So most likely succeed's a good one, man. That means that like, you know, people see something in you that
Apparently.
I mean, he's probably got the biggest name of that whole class.
Yeah, probably. Like he was.
If you look up that school's Wikipedia, he might be on the short list of notable names. Maybe not like.
Oh, I don't know if
there's no plaques on the wall. There's no plaques on the wall of this guy, but you know,
his jersey's probably not hanging
people
up
go,
in the gym. But
Herbert Mullin went here.
Just saying.
Yeah, he went here. Keep it on the hush.
Actually, a pretty damn good quarterback.
Yeah, he played football. He was real good. I guess when he transferred to like a new high school, like the coach was pretty pumped that he was there because he was a good athlete.
Yeah, his parents thought that was going to be like some sort of a breaking point for him, like moving schools, which typically it is, especially in high school. But
does that say something to you that they were a little worried about him as far as moving schools? Because I mean, typically your kids go from school to school and they do just fine, right? Is it something that you worry about?
As the older they get, I do.
Yeah, because they're already kind of entrenched in the
right. Like my daughter's going to be in middle school next year. I'm not going to be moving her around a whole lot after that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I feel like that's a hard time. Middle school, high school, that's a hard time to be a new kid.
Yeah, young kids, they accept other kids a lot easier.
Exactly. Exactly. Elementary school, hey, welcome to the class.
Middle
Everybody
school, the kids of the school they're going to, they've already got their friends that they've been with for 5-6 years, and
especially nowadays, all them kids have their phones now because they're doing stuff. They're buried in those. Yeah. They're not even talking to people they know, much less people they don't.
But he fit right in at the school that he transferred to. He was well known at high school and doing well. He dated a girl named Loretta that he had met there, and they would have an ongoing relationship for basically the rest of this story.
I picture them the football player cheerleader couple, man. It seemed like they had everything figured out.
Right.
You know.
I feel bad for Loretta, man. She had a rough ride with this guy. She saw some ups and downs.
She reminds me of Ross Ulbricht's girlfriend.
Yeah. Just there on the roller coaster.
She was just there and just fell madly in love with him, apparently, because anytime he called, she was there.
Right. He would leave her on a whim and then
Yeah.
come back, and she'd take him back.
And then he'd leave, and she'd be like, "I guess you need your space."
Right? I guess you're going to go have sex with guys now. Cool.
Okay, well,
Come back when you're ready for me.
I'll have dinner on the stove.
Shortly after graduations, so basically in high school football, on the football team, he became best friends with a kid named Dean Richardson.
Yeah, I think more than best friends.
Yeah, they were.
Or at least he thought
well,
so.
at least on Mullin's side,
Right.
he like had a real thing for Dean, like best friends, but
I
also
don't
maybe
think it
wanted
clicked
more out
in
of
his
it.
head until Dean died.
You think?
Yeah, I don't think he was aware of these feelings, and then when Dean died, he was like, "Oh my God."
That's possible.
I think
Well-
that could have been part of the break too.
Dean Richardson was another really well-known kid in high school, beloved, like had a bright future ahead of him. And one day he was driving on a dirt road in his pickup truck a little too fast, lost control, rolled the truck, and actually died. And it seemed like the person that was most affected wasn't even family members. It was actually Herbert Mullin, his best friend.
He
and,
took it hard.
and Herbert may have realized something about himself with this, because he, like we kind of alluded to, he discovered that he was bisexual. He had these strong sexual feelings for his best friend.
Right.
And maybe he viewed him as like they were in a relationship. I don't know if Dean was even aware
Right.
of it, because after Dean died, in Herbert's bedroom, his parents were kind of taken aback because he had made like several shrines.
Yeah.
Like more than one shrine, multiple shrines.
More than
is-
one shrine. Like
that's
how many
excessive.
shrines do you need in one space?
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
excessive when your whole room is shrines.
Yeah, like maybe make a shrine where he died, maybe make a shrine in your room, but multiple shrines in your room, I feel like that's a bit excessive.
Right. I mean, that first person you're close to dying when you're young is tough. Like if you have like a best friend or something like that. I had a best friend die that, yeah, it's tough,
Yeah.
but yeah, it seemed like Herbert took it extra hard.
And he also left Loretta too.
He left Loretta shortly after this and started kind of sending little rumblings that he was bisexual.
Yeah.
Part of the reason why he broke up with
He
her.
kind of opened up to her about it before anybody, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if he just told her that he was bisexual to not hurt her feelings. I wonder if he was just homosexual at this point.
Maybe, but he would end up
You
going
know?
back to her again, so.
Well, yeah, because that's where she lives in the same town his parents are, and I feel like he's trying to put on this front. It's still a part of him wants to please them, so every time he came around,
Yeah.
it was nice to have a girl on his arm,
And as
because
many
that's what Dad would like to see.
And we've talked about it time and time again on this show. I mean, being gay was less accepted. This is the early.
Absolutely.
What is this? When he's in high school, it's probably the early 60s, early
Yeah.
mid 60s. Yeah, so I mean, it looks better for him to be with a girl at this time, especially with super religious parents. So maybe that's why he kept going back to Loretta. It's just either he was in denial or he was just trying to placate to the confines of society at the time.
Right.
Anyways, so he has this shrine and he's staying in his room all the time and he's basically just distraught over this. And it's with this, it seems like that his religious beliefs change a little bit. He starts becoming heavily believing in reincarnation.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
And he becomes obsessed with getting his best friend back from the dead.
Exactly, and that seems to be the only way. I think that's why he jumped headfirst into reincarnation.
Yeah.
Because what other answer do you have? You can't accept that someone's gone. Then you have to reason that they're coming back as something else or someone else.
Well, his mother and his father would believe that he's in heaven, right? So
yeah, but that doesn't help
Not
him.
good enough.
That doesn't help him right
it's
now.
not good enough. He wants him
Yeah.
reincarnated.
That religion doesn't line up with what he wants to believe, Lauren.
Right.
That ain't gonna work.
Yeah. Well, in the fall of 1965, there were some signs of him bouncing back from this. He started taking courses at Cabrillo College. He was doing classes in engineering. And he even came around to start dating Loretta again. As we mentioned, it would be an on and off relationship.
Right.
Now, around this time, he would go to visit an old friend that was mutual friends with him and Dean, a guy named Jim Gianera. Gianera was kind of a known pot dealer, kind of a burnout type character.
Yeah, I guess so. Someone who was about their age, so he started dealing pretty young.
Yeah, he starts. So Herbert goes over to Jim's house, and they're hanging out. And Gianera supposedly offers Herbert some weed.
Right.
And this became this big thing in Herbert's brain that started. It's like the snowball effect. It's the thing that
It's a gateway drug, bro.
kicked off all of his issues. Yeah, he was a gateway drug believer, I suppose.
Yeah.
Supposedly, Jim talked Herbert into smoking weed, which he claimed messed up his brain, and this was like the turning point for his life, in which he went down a path of hallucinations and
Right. Well, because he did eventually turn to LSD.
right.
So
So maybe it is a gateway drug, man, for some people.
yeah, for some people. But I mean, I think it's just quote unquote gateway because it's the most accessible, it's the easiest to get, and it's the least dangerous. So people want to try it first.
Right.
You know, if
I also think different drugs respond differently to different people. Some people can't handle weed at all. Maybe Herbert was one of those people, but he kept going back to it too. So
yeah.
I just think he's always looking for excuses, man, all the way to the end.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it probably was part of his mental issues. Was
it definitely, if he was already in a bad place, and you smoke a strong sativa or something like that, it's just going to increase your paranoia.
Yeah.
You know, if you're
They didn't
already,
have strong sativa back then, bro.
That's true. It was all Reggie. It was all shit.
Some fucking dirt weed.
Yeah, but his tolerance was
$10
super low.
for a big ass bag.
That's true. That's true. He's not getting that caviar gold.
Right.
He's yeah, but his tolerance was probably pretty low. Obviously, you know, he's probably never done anything like that before.
Yeah.
You know, like we said, we talked about his conservative upbringing.
Yeah.
So,
but what's weird is you find out that he would go on to hang out with Jim all the time, and they would start even going like cruising around in Jim's car and doing deals together.
yeah,
And it's like, how can you blame the guy when you're the one who?
yeah, you keep going back.
I just have a feeling Jim didn't put a gun to Herbert's head and say, "Smoke this joint." Like, I don't think that happened.
Hell no.
Pretty sure he was like, "You want to hit?" He's like, all
Herbert was
right.
like, okay.
And then, but in Herbert's head, it was this bigger thing, and it comes back to bite Jim Giannera
Well,
later.
like you said, he just doesn't want to take responsibility for anything. He's got to blame everybody, which we see that time after time in serial killers.
Yeah.
Like with Kemper, blaming his mom, and you know,
It's everyone
blaming
else's
his dad.
fault.
Yeah. So
In June of 1966, Mullin had finished his first year of college and started working for a roads crew in Santa Cruz County. After taking the job with the county, he broke it off with Loretta again for unknown reasons.
yeah.
He may have even told her again that he's pursuing men at the time. She gave him some space, and their breakup would last another 6 months before they get back together. Now, in October of 1966, here's kind of a landmark.
Right.
Herbert tried LSD for the first time, and his drug use became more frequent. Now, LSD, as we know, it's intense. I've never done it.
Yeah.
Pretty sure you've never done it, but you've seen the effects, the long-lasting effects
Yeah.
of what it can do to your brain.
Yeah.
And if you already have tendencies to be a little delusional, or if you have, genetically predisposed to a disorder like schizophrenia, then it's bad.
Right.
It's a bad pairing. It's a bad coupling. It's like, once again, like William Bonin and Vernon Butts, this guy in LSD just didn't.
Yeah.
Deadly concoction here.
I actually do know a little bit about it. And I could definitely see prolonged use, and as excessive as he is using, definitely you could lose touch with reality, because the next day you still kind of see things a little bit different. Even on the come down, you still are looking at things, and you can still see them kind of how you saw them when you were tripping, and at the doses he was taking, like 8 to 10 hits.
Oh, really? He was doing that much?
That's crazy.
Oh my God!
If you've never done it before, 2 hits is probably going to do you in.
Right.
Like, you're going to be like not be able to do anything for like 8 hours.
Right.
You're just going to be like chilling. But yeah, the excessive use and doing that every weekend, I could definitely see how the lines would start to get blurred.
Right.
And if you're already mentally predisposed to this sort of thing.
Yeah.
It could
and
be,
you're shut in your room and reading.
It could intensify.
Old books on religion and and their beliefs on.
One of the things that the author kept saying that kept disturbing me. I was like, that's not why he's taking it. But he kept saying, like, and he turned to LSD to calm himself down. Okay, nobody turns to LSD to calm themselves down. Dude, you're gonna have so much fucking energy on LSD. Like, you can't sleep.
Right.
You can't sleep, and you're constantly.
Well, that was
thinking
one
about
of his absolute biggest issues was sleep
Yeah.
deprivation later on, man.
Right.
Like, he would even say, like,
That's
he did this
why.
crime, that he killed this person because he
Yeah.
hadn't slept in 3-4 days. Because later on, when he moved to, we'll get to it, but he
Yeah.
ends up doing an even more intense drug, methamphetamine.
Right.
Which you pair that with LSD, you pair that with
dude.
diagnosed schizophrenia, and you got, poof.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
you're
got a
like
bad
fucking
combination.
walking.
No wonder he can't sleep. He can't shut his brain off.
Yeah.
It's literally activated constantly.
This dude's one of the scariest types of criminals, and we'll get into it, but like, yeah, just the absolute randomness
Yep.
where he's just walking down the street and like, that person needs to be, that person said that they need to die for the cause, and then they have no clue it's coming. But yeah, we're getting there to the point where he's getting less in touch with reality,
right,
with each one of these things that happen. Now, in early 1967, Loretta and Herbert get engaged. He proposes to her.
I didn't see this coming, to be honest. When it went back to this in the book, I did not expect this.
Yeah,
I thought he was done with Loretta now.
I think so too. But maybe this is a one of those points where he felt like he had to do it or he was going to lose her.
Right.
But then once he got her, we've seen that. Like
she tried to change
when
him
she
and-
says yes, then he's more apt to leave her again because he got what he wanted, or
Right. Go make me a sandwich. I'm going to take some LSD.
and maybe she still thought she could change him because shortly after getting engaged, she tries to get him to quit doing drugs. She fails
Miserably.
at that.
Yeah.
And then in the summer of 1967, Herbert gets his 2-year degree in engineering and enrolls at San Jose University. Also during this time, he gets heavily into Eastern religion and Hindu.
Right. He becomes kind of more of a hippie to aggravate his father, I think.
I
More so
think
than not.
he also believed in it, but it also
think
had
so, though?
but it had another perk in that it really, he was trying to get under his father's skin.
Yeah.
His father was a big supporter of the military. He was a former World War II veteran.
Right, of course.
Or not former veteran, but he is a veteran of World War II. And so Herbert basically tries to become a conscientious observer of the Vietnam War.
Like an
He's
objector.
submitting, an objector. He
Yeah.
sends paperwork to the government, basically saying that he was working for like Goodwill, so that he ended up he qualified as
Right.
a conscientious observer. He wasn't going to be drafted into Vietnam.
Well, he got hired at Goodwill because it's pretty much the only place he could work because he got arrested for possession of narcotics.
Oh yeah, we
Remember
skipped
that
over
in
that.
1968?
One of his many arrests.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of more of a slap on the wrist, really.
Right.
They speculate that he knew a lot of people in town. Mm-hmm. They acted like it was a small town, especially the author of the book. Deadly Voices, he really made it seem like it was a smaller town. Like everybody perceived him this way, and everybody kind of knew everybody. But I don't know. I thought Santa Cruz was a much bigger town than that. But
Well, he's a good-looking young white kid, in the early 60s. Who knows? I mean,
yeah, had it
if
all
he's
going for him.
a black dude, probably wouldn't have gotten out quite as easily.
Yeah, you're probably right.
A whole different.
And he was like a high school athlete, and
Yeah.
honor student, and all that stuff. So yeah, I guess so. I guess he kind of
no priors at that point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
probably a slap on the wrist and give him another chance.
right.
So he becomes a hippie during this time. He dropped out of college. He changed his appearance. He grew out his hair. Became a like we said, conscientious observer of the war. And he started dating a man at this time and broke up with Loretta. So I guess they never got married, right? They just got engaged, and then he broke up with her before the wedding.
I think a lot of the drug use was kind of driving that way, anyways.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they didn't have that common interest. I mean, he's off doing drugs, and she's, I'm guessing, at home or doing whatever else. And like,
Right.
there's
Probably
that-
babysitting him.
There's that gap there. If she was doing the drugs with him, it probably would have been a much closer relationship. But there's that gap.
Right.
And so he probably starts dating men that are also doing the drugs with him. He now officially declares himself bisexual at this time, even to his parents, which devastated them, obviously being deeply religious.
Yeah, absolutely. Loretta took it actually kind of well, though. I think that last breakup.
Yeah.
She actually took it fairly well. But like I said, she always
She
did.
probably saw it coming, dude.
was just like,
She probably was like hoping for the best, but knowing that this is probably going to end bad.
Right.
Just knowing the path that Herbert was on, that he had a lot of issues.
Yeah.
So he gets arrested. He's working for Goodwill, and he was talking to his parents about. So he quits Goodwill and he starts talking to his parents about moving to India to study yoga.
Yeah. I think he just did that to piss him off.
This guy must have been like a walking caricature.
Yeah, I wasn't
at the
making a
time.
yoga joke earlier. Like, he really did try to study yoga.
No, yoga's
Like,
awesome,
Yoga's awesome. Totally
Yoga's
respect
shit.
yoga.
Yeah, any yogis out there listening right now? What's up?
Yeah, what's
Hope you're listening, doing some kind of
Yeah.
crazy pose right now, downward dog, or I don't know what's a crazy yoga pose. I don't know shit.
Yeah, downward dog.
Downward
That's
dog.
one. I'm totally blanking on him. Tree pose. Yeah, I don't know. A lot.
Isn't there like a flamingo?
Child's
one?
pose.
Child's pose. Yeah,
See there?
that's my wheelhouse right there.
Yeah, I know some of them.
Yeah, so he doesn't end up moving to India to study yoga, but he must have
No.
been like a walking caricature at the time with his long hair, some like wooden sandals, and like,
Yeah, he's wearing his Jerusalem cruisers.
come on, man, the war, man, moving to India, man.
Oh, I didn't quite make it, bro. I got distracted at my brother-in-law's house.
Right. So during this time, he moves in with his sister and his brother-in-law. It's not quite a house. I guess it was like a single-wide trailer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
This is an
so he didn't have a lot of
interesting
money. Yeah, this is an interesting time for him. This is where you see the actual signs of schizophrenia
Right.
emerge.
Well, I think it's where we have the first people who have actually witnessed it and were able to give testimony. I'm sure he was already, showing signs, but he's living with two people, so these two people are seeing him, all the time. And so
Yeah.
I think they're more apt to notice the little things that he's doing.
one of the things that he was noted as doing during this time living at his sister and brother-in-law's house was that he was mimicking his brother-in-law to a T for no reason, and they couldn't figure out why he was doing it. And there's a term for this called echopraxia, which is the meaningless repetition or imitation of the movements of others. It's a symptom of a psychotic or psychiatric disorder, and it can also be like a precursor to a lot of different disorders, one of them being
That was so
schizophrenia. It can be it can be a definite sign that someone is
right. It's like almost like someone's trying to take on they're trying to take on your personality.
It's like what kids do,
copying you
but
and stuff.
if you're doing it as an adult and you don't even realize you're doing it,
yeah, that's what I mean. Like subconsciously, is it out of respect? Is it, you know what I mean?
Right.
I wonder what triggers that in their mind to make them think like, I want to be like this person so much.
It's interesting. I was reading into it a little bit, man. It's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, so they were a little bit perplexed by him doing that.
Right.
And it was just kind of shows you that early on, like maybe he wasn't making this whole thing up. I don't think too many people even knew what echopraxia was at the time. They just found it strange, and they noted that and like told authorities later on that had happened, and then they started to connect like,
right.
This dude actually had real disorders. He wasn't making this shit up.
No. Because then it escalated to where he asked his sister to have sex with him.
Yeah, so he goes.
That?
So in 1969, he allowed his family to commit him to a mental hospital. He was 21 years old at the time. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and he was given medication. He would take it on and off. Right. That was part of the problem, is that he never really stuck to any treatment. Mm-hmm. But he didn't believe him for one, and he didn't believe in the treatment for two. And so he goes back to his brother-in-law's and sister's house, the trailer, and immediately after getting released from the mental hospital, he asks his sister if she'll have sex with him.
Yeah.
She says no, so he then turns to his brother-in-law and asks if he'll have sex with him.
He also said,
brother-in-law said yes.
He thinks about it for a second. No,
I'm kidding. We're not family.
Ain't nothing wrong with this, Linda.
Your sister can watch. Kidding. Now, let's accelerate this a little bit. Basically, the gist of it is over the next few years, he's going to be checked in and out of mental institutions. He's going to be given, quick treatments.
Right.
They didn't really, I don't think we knew as much what to do with people with these issues back then. They had medication for it, but they couldn't hold you for very long. They couldn't, basically, the law was the 5150 law in California at the time was that they couldn't hold you for more than 72 hours unless you were willing.
Exactly.
If you were unwilling, you didn't want to be there, they could only hold you for 72 hours, and then you'd be back out again. And it was up to you to take your medication and stay off of drugs, and he wasn't staying off drugs. He was going back to the LSD.
It's a broken system. That part of it is. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, usually he'd be there for a few days, and then he'd be out, and, he'd get picked up for various crimes. It was mainly just being intoxicated in public.
Right. He basically finally checked himself into...
Yeah, in September of 1969, he checks himself into a rehab facility, but soon his condition worsened. He was diagnosed as paranoid schizophrenic for the first time. During this time, he's doing some strange things.
Yeah, this is odd.
He began to burn his penis with a cigarette, claiming it was because his penis gave him homosexual desires, and it was his penis's fault.
It's like
obviously.
A way of punishing himself, I guess.
Right. He was arrested on 2 separate occasions during this time for public intoxication and resisting arrest. Not held for very long on those charges, obviously.
Like we said, everybody knew him. He was just kind of in and out, it seemed.
Yeah, he's becoming that guy on the street that's, wandering around, now he's talking to himself. He's hearing voices in his head.
Right. Instead of being the high school honor student, superstar athlete, now he has a new reputation. Like, people know that he's mentally ill now. They don't think they don't think he's dangerous at all. No.
There's
nobody suspects that he's dangerous, but everybody kind of knows him as like the town crazy right now. Like that's how they're labeling him.
Right. Well, in 1971, he finds an outlet to, for his basically all this free time and like the voices in his head, he finds somewhere to channel it to. Yeah. And he's always been athletic and he's always been good at sports and stuff. So he takes up the sport of boxing and he gets into the Golden Gloves organization. He starts training on a daily basis. He's training every day at Newman Herman Gym. Mm-hmm. And he actually after training for a few months, led up to the point where he signed up to have an amateur fight.
Yeah.
And so the fight came, and in the first round, he landed a big hook, dropped the guy, and basically pummeled
Beat
the
the
dude.
shit out of him.
Pummeled him to the point where everybody had to pile into the ring and rip him off of the guy.
Like Jose Vagoa with a baseball style.
Right.
Like, just beat the fuck out of him.
Yeah, so 1-0, and that would end his career in that organization because they would kick him out. Obviously, he couldn't play by the rules. When a guy goes down, the ref steps in, it's over. You don't get to keep pummeling. Like, I picture him, like, knocking the ref down and keep just pummeling this dude.
Oh, yeah.
Would have killed him if they didn't rip him off. You could tell there's a lot of built-up anger.
But you've seen some of that anger later on, man. Some
Yeah.
of these killings. You've definitely seen the same exact...
You could say that the killings had a rage aspect to them, where it was like the person's already dead and he's continuing to stab them.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was then also so this time he's moved to San Francisco, right? And he's living in like dingy apartments with other street people, street people, drug addicts,
Right.
alcoholics. And then they're living in little dingy apartments, and he's living this kind of dirty lifestyle at the time. And he was once evicted from an apartment for pounding repeatedly on the floor and shouting at people that were not there. These voices in his head are getting louder. In 1972, he had moved in with his parents again in Santa Cruz at the age of 25, probably trying to once again get his life back on track.
Right.
But by this time, the voices in his head were out of control, and they're starting to turn in a direction of human sacrifice, and for the means of stopping an earthquake.
Right.
He had believed that another massive earthquake was going to hit the Bay Area, and thousands of people were going to die. And so this leads us to our first murder. And it was on October 13th, 1972. He was living with his parents, but he's out wandering at the time, driving around in his car, and he's on this back road. He loved nature, and he loved like secluded areas. That was one thing that always supposedly calmed down the voices in his head.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And so there's this one like secluded road that he would go to, and so he's driving out there on October 13th, and he spots a homeless man named Lawrence Whitey White, who was well known. Homeless man in the area, harmless guy, just, looking for handouts.
Just always
here and there.
begging in that area.
Yeah. And so he sees Lawrence Whitey, and upon spotting him, the so-called voices in his head told him that guy needed to die,
Yeah.
or else there was going to be an earthquake.
Well, he also claimed that he could telepathically communicate with these victims beforehand. So he was literally sending Lawrence like these brainwaves, and apparently Lawrence was saying, "Yes, I'll be your sacrifice.
Kill me."
That's what he heard,
so
supposedly.
that others don't have to die.
Exactly.
And if you believe in reincarnation, truly believe in it, then you're not killing Lawrence forever. You're just sending him to the next life.
Right.
And so you can kind of see like where he's coming from in that sense, but basically what he does is he pulls over his car and he pops the hood, puts the hood up, and as Lawrence is approaching, he's acting as though his car's broken down.
Yeah.
Lawrence comes up. Maybe he's going to ask for some change or whatever. He's just checking out what's going on with this guy.
Right.
And he tells Lawrence, I don't know what's wrong with my car. Do you know what's going on? And Lawrence bends over to look inside the car, and he has a baseball bat. Bashes him over the head. I don't know how many times it bludgeoned him to the point where there was like brain matter inside
the first hit, like Lawrence falls onto the car and then falls onto the ground, and then he just starts beating him on the asphalt just until he's unrecognizable, I guess.
Yeah.
This is some of the rage we were talking about. Probably the first hit probably killed him.
Right.
And then he just wouldn't stop. And this was a pattern in almost all of his killings.
Yeah. White's body would be found the next day. He just left it where it was. Puddle of blood, brain matter on the ground.
Right.
Just vicious.
No witnesses. Because
absolutely vicious. No real motive as far as the police are concerned. They don't understand why this harmless, local homeless guy who never did anybody harm was bludgeoned and obviously brutally beaten by somebody who was very angry.
Yeah.
And he would later claim in interrogation that he had received a telepathic message and a Bible quote from Jonah: "Pick me up and throw me over the boat. Kill me so that others will be saved." And that's what led him to
I don't think he really knew the story because Jonah didn't die.
Right. That's what the police said to him, but it didn't matter.
Like, it makes no sense. Right. I mean, yeah, Jonah said, throw me over the boat or whatever because God's mad at me and whatever, but he didn't die. He didn't sacrifice himself.
Right.
Well, so I don't understand why that's how you can logically take that to beating somebody's brains in with a baseball bat.
Right. Well, LSD, powerful drug.
Yeah, I guess so. don't know.
We
I think
can't
he was
fully
on
blame.
bath salts.
To be fair, we can't fully blame that drug. I mean,
No,
how many
you
people?
can't.
How many people have done LSD, and how few of them have gone around committing crimes like this? It's just like we said. In the right person.
In the right environment, I recommend that you do try it, but not on a regular basis, because I do think it opens.
If you
up
feel like you
your
want to
mind.
do it and you can
Yeah.
handle it, if you
Yeah.
don't, if you feel like maybe you're mentally unstable, then yeah, it's probably not a good idea.
If you're having a bad day, not a good day to try psychedelic drugs.
Right.
If you're feeling bad, if you're down, if you're depressed, don't do it. But like if you're having a good day, everything feels happy, you're outside,
Do it in a
you're
safe-
nature,
a safe area
a
that
safe
you're common-
zone
you're-
around people that care about you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then it could be beneficial. It could be a learning experience.
Right. Well, this wasn't enough of a sacrifice because shortly thereafter, 12 days later on October 25th, see, this is what I'm talking about with the gaps. This is not a
Yeah.
spree killer. This is 12
You're
days.
right.
12 days later.
You're right.
October 25th, 1972, 24-year-old Mary Guilfoyle was hitchhiking because she was running late for an interview. Now,
Again,
it's not a woman
stop
that would.
fucking hitchhiking, especially if you're a young girl. Why are you hitchhiking?
She was typically not the type that would hitchhike, and it caught everybody like by surprise that she had gotten in a vehicle with a stranger when they found out, because she was, like I said, not the type to do it. But she was running late for an interview on this day, and we've seen where circumstance can get you sometimes in the past, with like Ted Bundy's victims, where they were distracted, and that's why they decided to help him. Like things
Right.
like just getting lucky on the killer's part to catch this person at this moment where they're vulnerable. Because Mary, the fact that she was running late, she thought maybe getting in the vehicle with him when he pulled up would get her to the interview on time, and it obviously backfired. I mean, he was a young, good-looking guy. He looked harmless,
Yeah.
if you didn't know him. And so she gets in the car, and he starts driving in the opposite direction of where she asked him to take her to.
Yeah. And being the polite young lady that she is, she doesn't say anything.
Right. And so Mullin ends up pulling off into a secluded area, and a struggle ensues, and he ends up stabbing her in the chest and in the back. He stabs her a lot of times. Was it like 30 times or something?
Yeah, it's some ungodly amount of times.
Yeah, and then he would end up actually dissecting her body, which is kind of strange, as what we discussed with the human sacrifice. If your goal is to stop other deaths, what's the point of the?
Well, he blamed this on research that he learned from a Michelangelo book. Mm-hmm. He read a book about Michelangelo, the artist.
Oh, yeah, he read a dissection book.
Yeah, it was a book about Michelangelo used to dissect dead bodies in order to understand the anatomy, and he felt that he was doing that as well. See, that just goes to show you how he's just pulling these excuses out of the air.
Right.
Oh, I read a book about this, so that's why I did that. My mother told me this once, so that's why I did this.
Yeah.
It's crazy. He's just pulling all this stuff together, and he's just mixing it together in one big, just schizophrenic melting pot. Really, it's like it's crazy.
Yeah. Now the police are a little bit perturbed at this point because during the same time in the same area of California, a little known guy by the name of Edmund Kemper is out doing his work,
Right.
And college girls are coming up dead and dissected, and so this is one that they initially suspected was the work of. They didn't know it was Edmund Kemper yet, but
Right.
whoever was doing this, whatever serial killer, they suspected it was the same guy. They thought it was an Edmund Kemper victim,
Right.
because she was dissected and she was a college girl, and
they
it
were
just
even
seemed to
getting-
fit the mold of the killings that were going on.
And they were even a little bit nervous when they found the homeless man's killing, because they thought maybe he had branched out and maybe he was picking up men now or
Right,
something
a lot
else.
of bodies are popping up between
Right.
the two of these guys at this time. So
Right.
yeah, they got that to worry about. And when Edmund Kemper finally turns himself in, they then started scratching their heads like, well, he gives us information on all of his killings, and there's all these other bodies, and he's saying he didn't do them, and he has so much
had a much-
specific information on the
Yeah.
killings that he did do that they had to believe that it wasn't him that
And
did
his
the others.
MO was more consistent too.
Yeah, so they were kind of happy that they had him, but then they're like, well, shit, there's more. There's 13 other people dead that we can't attribute to this guy. So well,
Right.
there's another serial killer out there. So yeah, he had dissected her body and scattered her remains along a roadside, which would also lead police to believe that it was the work of Edmund Kemper.
Yeah, that's what Lorne alluded to earlier when he actually hung her intestines from the trees, and
Yeah,
it was very bad.
very strange.
Yeah.
Her body would not be found until February 12th, 1973. So, what, 3-4 months later?
Right.
And she was obviously initially thought to be a victim of Edmund Kemper. Mullin was overcome with guilt and went to confession on November 2nd. So, the next month, or no, like a week later, He's actually has some guilt, and he goes to Catholic confession. And this is the one that had my jaw.
This
open.
is a
I was
scene
just
out of
like,
a movie.
This is 100% a scene from a movie, and I couldn't believe it even happened. I think this is a good spot, Michael, to hit a sponsorship real quick.
I agree.
All right, Michael, our sponsor today is Propaganda Creative. Propaganda Creative is a full-service design firm located in Spokane, Washington. Small but mighty, they provide web design, graphic design, and other marketing services with a focus on amplifying brands and helping good people create success. Now, because they are located in Spokane, Washington, they don't have to charge NYC, LA, or San Francisco prices. They offer extremely competitive prices and very affordable.
Right, they offer a plethora of services.
Right.
Their two main services being web design, development, and then branding and identity, which is creating a logo. But in addition, they also offer packaging design, print design, advertising, video, photography, copywriting, illustration, strategy and consultation, web design, e-commerce development, motion graphics, design for mobile applications, and social media marketing. You can contact them by going to nwpropaganda.com, which is nwpropaganda.com. Or you can email them at info@nwpropaganda.com. And as an incentive, being a True Crime Guys listener, you get 15% off any first service that you suggest. All you got to do is mention True Crime Guys.
Boom.
So, nwpropaganda.com, email at info@nwpropaganda.com, and tell them True Crime Guys sent
Now
you.
we know they're good because, oh my God, I was just bragging about how awesome her packaging is.
Right.
She uses them.
That's right. Our other sponsor, Oh My Guy. Yeah.
She uses Propaganda Creative. That's how we got connected. So definitely, we already know that it's high quality work going on.
Right.
All right, now let's get back to the show. The pastor's name.
Yeah. Father Henry Tomei.
Yeah. Do you want to tell a little bit about this one? Coming from a religious background, you can tell this story. I'll let you cover this.
Right. So I think his conscience was finally getting to him. Coming from a Catholic background. So he actually goes to confession.
He was a guy that would go to confession every week, supposedly even up until he's doing these murders.
It's just what you do. And so, you go in there and it's supposed to be completely private. Mm-hmm. And he tells the father and he tells Father Tomei that he killed 2 people. And then it was almost like something clicked. It's like the voices just got louder and they were like, you can't do that.
You can't let him. He's a witness now.
He can't know. But then on the same hand, he says that Father Tomei gave him permission and realized the struggle that he was going through and his mission from God. And he said that, I give you permission. I'll be your next sacrifice. Okay. But you can tell how whacked out Mullin was, because if Father Tomei said that, why would he sprint from the confession booth when you threatened him?
Right. So Father Tomei had left the confession booth and was running down the aisle.
Yeah. There was no one else in the church at this time.
Which is evidence right there that he didn't want to be his next sacrifice.
No, not at all.
And so Herbert, what happens, chases him down.
Very athletic, young guy. Yeah. Chases him down.
In a church.
In the middle of the church. And stabs him.
You just don't hear about this happening, man. It's just so crazy. He pummels him, stabs him to death in front of the parishioner who is there and doesn't do a damn thing.
Doesn't do anything. Doesn't
even get a description. That is unexcusable to me. I'm sorry, man. Maybe you don't want to get involved. Maybe you're afraid of getting hurt yourself. Maybe you don't like your chances against this young, spry, drug addict that's pummeling your priest. But man, you gotta freaking at least get a good description and go call the police.
Yeah, at least get a look at him and hide or something.
He was basically useless to the police.
He didn't help at all.
He must have been just deer in headlights, so shook by this that it was like a black hole in his memory. Because
the secluded life that he's probably lived, being a worker of the church, he's not supposed to see anything like that. His life's supposed to be all hunky dory, and evil isn't supposed to find him in the church.
Right. Yep. And the police would actually believe that he was a victim of an attempted robbery. They wouldn't think it was a confession gone wrong.
Yeah.
He believed that the lives lost in Vietnam were a type of a sacrifice to nature, and now that Vietnam was dying down and all those lives were being lost, that he had to kind of make up for it with some human sacrifices.
That's why he was kind of picking up the frequency of his killings right here.
Yeah, so now he changes his whole hippie thing he flips it on its head, and he believes joining the war would allow him to sacrifice people by killing the enemy without having to murder innocent people. And it's like, why didn't you do that before?
Wow.
Before you killed,
Yeah, right.
an innocent pastor and innocent homeless person and some woman who's just trying to get to a job interview.
Right.
You could have killed the Vietnamese.
At the very least, you could have become like some sort of weird vigilante or something.
Right. And whether you believe in that war or not, I
Right.
mean, a lot of lives were lost, and he probably would have died out there and not killed all these people, these innocent people. At least it was a mutual agreement to try and kill each other at war.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
I
he
guess.
probably would have been those sickos though in war. He was doing all kinds of war crimes.
Oh yeah, probably. He'd be like torturing other people
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, who knows? So he tried to join the Coast Guard, but was rejected, and this would be another excuse for why he would kill people later. So he would say, you know, if they would have just let me into the Coast Guard, if they would have let me into the Marines,
Right.
if my dad would have, you know, done this or that, weird shit.
Here's what's crazy. Every branch denied him because of the psychiatric exam, except for the Marines.
Right. Well, you don't have to be perfectly sane to just want to go kill people. In fact, that's probably a good thing that you want to go kill people because that's what they want you to do.
Yeah, but what if you kill your own
trained
platoon?
killers.
Like, what if you're putting your own people at risk, man? If you have an episode and you haven't killed anybody in 3 days and you just stab your buddy
Yeah.
in the trenches.
Yeah.
Huh? What about that?
I agree with you.
Okay.
Probably not good. It's probably not a good thing.
Probably not an optimum scenario.
Right.
Is that what you want to hear from me?
Well, I don't work for the Marines, man. I didn't give them the test. What do you want from me?
Listen, they declined him because of his criminal background. So
But we haven't even
there's
gotten
that.
there. We haven't gotten there, so calm down.
Okay. So,
December 16th, 1972, he purchases his first firearm. And the way that,
yeah, America.
remember the reason that he like thought that he should have one? It had something to do with his lineage.
He was
was-
like 1/3 Scandinavian, and like all Scandinavians had guns.
They have the right to have a gun by
Yeah, I was like, dude, we have rights to have guns in America.
Right, no, but like
why
every-
do you have to make an excuse?
there was, man, I forget what the way the book described it, but he believed that like it was his duty to
It's
have
like
a
his
gun
birthright
because
or
he
something. It was like part of his culture, his heritage.
It just tells you something about his psyche. It was his thought process was
It was mixed up, dude.
it was all over the place. And then on January 15th, 1973, he tries to join the Marine Corps. He passes the physical test. He passes the psychiatric test.
Yep.
But then when it came to the background, he was a
Not so
little
good.
reluctant to give up his record. But
Right.
upon doing so, there was a good reason for that because they denied him based off of his basically his
It's drug use
resisting
and
arrest was the
convictions.
big one. I'm
Yeah.
sure that doesn't look good.
Right.
Now, after that, he started to really get in his head more and started thinking about like people that he could lash back at that were
Right. Well, because
at
his
fault for where he was at this
his
point.
biggest arrest was with possession of narcotics. So he's thinking like, well, let's see, narcotics. Why are narcotics in my life? Oh, because Jim Gianera put them there.
Yeah, because
You know what I mean?
he
That was
made
his
me
reasoning.
try pot and
Right.
took me down this road.
Exactly.
And so the name James Gianera makes an appearance again, and he's thinking hard about how that guy is to blame for everything that happened to him because he's the one who got him into drugs.
Exactly.
And so he basically tells himself that's going to be his next sacrifice is going to be James Gianera. And he drives to the home of James Gianera, the former home. He doesn't realize that until he walks up to the door and rings the doorbell, and some woman he's never met answers the door.
Right.
Now, her name was Kathy Francis. He then turns on the charm and gets Kathy to give Herbert the address, the new address for James Gianera, which she does.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because you probably think
You-
it's harmless. It's a friend looking for. I mean, he obviously knew where he lived.
He must have
before.
been able to. He must have been real good at being able to act normal. You know what I mean? Like you see it on several occasions where he
Yeah.
gets out of, like he would get into these mental hospitals and then he would be fine.
Yeah.
And they would release him and then he would be crazy again.
I think
Or
he was
like-
able to take on a certain persona for long enough to fool someone.
If he got to the point where it was the background check with the Marines that finally had to turn him down, and this is after he's already killed 3 people.
Exactly.
It's like he must be able to act normal on a fucking
Yeah. Exactly.
minute's notice. And so he convinces this woman, Kathy, to give him the new address. And he drives to the address. He sees James's car in the driveway and knows right away he's got the right house. And the book described him as having a big smile when he saw the car and knew that he was there.
Yeah, it was super creepy the way he pulls up.
Yeah, so
James
he-
is only 24 years old at this time.
24, and he's now moved. He's now gotten his act together. He's not a drug dealer anymore. He's gotten married. He's living at he bought a home with his wife. His wife's
Yep.
23. They're living in this home together and starting their life off. You know, and this is when his old buddy Herbert Mullin reappears into his life, comes knocking at the door, and upon answering the door, James is basically forced at gunpoint into the house. And what was this stupid quote the book said? Did you think he really said that? You're claptrapping me?
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell that means.
I don't know.
I should have looked it up.
He said, "You're claptrapping me, James."
And James knows that Herbert's there for bad intentions.
What?
And
So he immediately turns around, tries to run upstairs to warn his wife.
Yeah. His wife is in the shower upstairs.
Right. Of course, worst place to be when somebody. That's what you always think when you're in the shower. You know,
Oh,
you're
dude, I'm
in
so
the shower
vulnerable.
and you hear a noise and you're like,
So
"Holy fuck,
vulnerable
I
right
gotta
now.
Get the fuck out of
Naked.
here! Somebody's in my house."
I'm naked.
Yeah,
I'm screwed, man. My feet are all wet and slippery.
right.
Yeah, I've had so many times where I'm showering and I just picture someone just like pulling open the curtain and just shooting me or stabbing me for some reason. I'm serious.
Yeah, no, I know. I don't think that's that crazy of a fear. I would say at least 75% of the people that listen to this have that fear on at least a monthly basis.
Right. That's why.
Especially if you have a shower late at night.
That's why I have a waterproof gun case in my shower. Right.
Do you?
That wouldn't be a bad idea, actually. We should patent those.
Yeah.
Are you scared of being killed in the shower every day? Waterproof gun case for the
Waterproof,
shower.
I'd say, right?
We need a catchy name for it.
Guaranteed to be mold free.
Right. Yeah, so James tries to run up the stairs to warn his wife, in which point he is shot in the back by Herbert and then stabbed over 35 times. That's where we're talking about the rage.
Now this is after he also shot him in the head.
He shot him in,
So he shot him in the back, and then he walked up on him, shot him in the head, and then
went
decided to
upstairs.
stab him.
Well, no, he went upstairs, shot Joan as well. At this point, she must have heard the gunshots, made her way out of the shower, and he shot and killed her, shot her in the head as well. He then went down, stabbed James over 35 times, and then stabbed Joan's corpse numerous times as well. He then went back to James's original house, because this is where he gets in his head again.
Yeah.
So he kills James and Joan, and now he's thinking, okay, the police. This is where you start to see connections made, where this comes to bite him in the ass when it comes to the
That's
trial.
what I was going to say. This definitely hurts his trial.
Yeah, because someone who is truly mentally ill enough to where they can't control their actions wouldn't try to cover up their actions. They just do things blindly in daylight and don't care about getting caught, don't think about getting caught. They just do them because they can't control themselves.
Exactly.
He's now thinking about covering up his tracks. He picks up shell casings at James's house, first of all. That shows that he's afraid of getting caught.
Right.
And now he starts thinking, who's the only person that knows that I was here? When the police come,
Yeah.
who's going to be able to? How are they going to be able to track me down?
He spoke to one person.
He spoke to one person that knew that he was going to James's house, and that was Kathy, and that's basically the person who's living at James's former house. He then drives to Kathy's house. She has 2 children, 4 and 9 years old. Knocks on the door, shoots and kills Kathy, stabs her body, and then he hears a commotion upstairs. The kids are now crying and hiding underneath their bunk bed. He goes up there and shoots and kills them as well.
God, man. They hadn't even seen him. Like, that's what I don't get. Like, as far as, like, the same way with James's wife.
Yeah.
They didn't see them.
Right. Yeah, no, they were not. They
weren't witnesses.
Yeah, he could have walked out. They would have never known who had done it.
He could have came in, shot James. He probably even stabbed him a couple times.
Yeah,
and
that's a good point. Joan was upstairs. She didn't know who the hell was at the door.
None of these other victims had to die.
Yeah, that's true. He liked killing at a certain point.
He did.
I'm totally convinced that after the first one, after he beat the homeless man to death, I think it was he just got off on killing. He liked it.
Yeah,
we've seen it time and time again where someone kills someone on accident.
Yeah.
You know, like John Wayne Gacy, the first kill was accidental, and then after that, he just liked it and kept doing it.
Right.
Found out how easy it was, I guess. I don't know. But I mean, I think these things, like growing up, I had things in my, like, we all have voices in our head in a sense, like our own voice, right? And then we also have, like, superstitions are almost like a minor version, like a micro version of this, I think, in a sense. Like, these things, I'm going to touch this thing or I'm going to turn the volume to an even number because if I don't, something's bad's going to happen. I thought like that all growing up. I still turn the volume to an even number every time.
Yeah.
And like there's certain things I do. I point things northwest for some reason. Like and I do these because I'm afraid that there's going to be repercussions if I don't. But if you're mentally ill, like you truly believe something bad is going to happen, and then you connect these pathways where it's like if I don't kill someone, like you make more dire things you need to do. For whatever reason.
What's the repercussions of your volume being on an odd number?
I don't know. It's just something bad. Something bad's gonna happen.
Dude, I don't even want to find out.
I know. That's my cup. See the logo? It's pointing northwest right now.
Oh, it is. Fair enough.
I'm not kidding when I say this shit.
That's interesting. Might have like low-key OCD or something.
When I was a kid at the grocery store, I would have to touch like every can I went by. If I missed one, I would run back and touch it. My mom was like concerned for a while. Yeah. But I think it's a form of OCD. It's a form.
Yeah.
They're all like little minor disorders, but they can get out of control. And I think his got completely out of control.
Yeah.
And they snowballed because of drug use.
Okay.
And potentially because of genetic predisposition to
But it's interesting that
schizophrenia.
I didn't hear anything about the rest of his family having any kind of history of schizophrenia.
Right. Yeah. Usually it is genetic.
Maybe the drug use did get a little out of control, and then he just blamed it on. I mean, if he's constantly tripping,
Right.
I mean, it just doesn't wear off very fast. And so I think that the line between sober and tripping was becoming more and more blurred.
Yeah.
I don't think he knew where it was anymore.
I don't know. It's out of control at this point. This is now brings his kill count to what, 8? Because there was Kathy and her 2 kids.
Right.
There was James and his wife. That's 5, and then there was the homeless man. That's 6. The woman who was going to work, 7, and then the priest.
The father. Yeah.
Yeah. So 8 people he's
people
now
so
killed in a very short span, and it wasn't the end. He killed them. The police initially suspected that Kathy and her kids were killed because of some kind of a drug dispute, because
Right.
her husband was supposedly a drug trafficker. So they thought that was some kind of retaliation by cartel or something like that.
Well, that's probably why he got the house from James. They were probably
Right.
working together at one point in time, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm getting ready to move out of my old place.
Right.
You can have it there. The cops watch it all the time."
Yep. And so he had picked up a shell casing and he kind of covered his tracks. He killed the only witness there, so the police didn't really have much to go with initially on that. Right. And in February of 1973, we talked about how he liked to go out into the wilderness and clear his head and get some
Right.
of the voices out. He was out in Henry Cowell Redwood State Park when he came across a tent that he saw in the woods. And when he further investigated, of course, being Henry Mullin, he goes walking in there to see what's going on. He finds a group of teenagers. They are David Allen Ulliker, 18 years old, Robert Michael Spector, 18 years old, Brian Scott Card, 19 years old, and Mark John DeVrillis, 19 years old. He comes walking into their camp, and initially he's kind of pissed off at them because he sees them littering and making a mess.
He just needed an excuse.
They're young kids drinking, 18, 19-year-old
Yeah.
kids drinking, having a good time. And, yeah,
He just
most
needed
likely
an
he wanted
excuse.
an excuse to kill again.
Yeah.
He sees them littering. He goes in there and tells them they need to leave because
Right.
because they didn't belong there.
He posed as a park ranger.
Right. And, of course, the boys didn't buy into it. They told him to get lost, and they were kind of talking down to him, in his own mind at least. We don't know how this went down. Obviously, we don't have a record of it because of what he does shortly thereafter. But in his mind, they talked down to him and made him feel lesser than. He leaves temporarily, seeing that there was a rifle in camp and that they had the potential to defend themselves if he tried to kill him right away.
Right.
He leaves, waits it out, kind of similar to like a Gitche Manitou murder situation
It is,
here. It's
very
like these
Gitche
kids are in the
Manitou.
teenagers in the woods, don't realize what kind of danger they're in.
Right.
He then comes back. They talk down to him again. He waits for the right moment and basically chooses to shoot the one closest to the rifle first. And long story short, he shoots all 4 and kills all 4 of these kids.
That too is another tell sign that he was not that crazy.
Right. He made deductive reasoning in that who was the biggest threat in this camp. If he was truly crazy and couldn't control, he'd just walk in there shooting. I would think.
Yeah, I would think so too.
Right.
He wouldn't have so much self-preservation on mind.
Yeah. I don't know that completely says that you're not mentally ill and can't control your actions, though. Maybe your mental illness tells you in order to kill more people, you have to preserve not getting locked up. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Maybe he couldn't stop himself from killing, but at the same time, in order to keep killing, he knew that he had to not get caught.
Because he did recognize the laws. He was
Yeah. That doesn't mean
he was
you're
conscious of the laws.
That doesn't mean you're not getting voices in your head telling you to kill, because you know it's bad, it's wrong. By law standards, you know it's wrong, but that doesn't mean that in your own mind you think it's wrong.
Right.
In his mind, he might think he's doing the right thing, but he knows that the law says otherwise.
If your perception of it is justified, nothing's going to stand in your way.
Exactly. So how in court, court goes, okay, you knew it was wrong, but in his mind, does he think it's wrong? If he thinks it's the right thing to do in his mind,
That's
but he
true,
knows the
because
law says otherwise.
In a way, the way he answered was kind of like, no, you know it's wrong. I know that it's for the greater good.
Yeah.
And because of your laws, I'm standing here. You kind of got that vibe from him. So, out of all the crazy shit he said, that was definitely an underlying theme.
Yep. So he ends up killing all 4 of them, and he takes the .22 rifle from the campsite. Now, this next killing would be his final, and it seems to be kind of he's at the end of his rope and wants to be discovered at this point.
Yeah, he just seems tired. He didn't put a lot of thought into it.
And he said
It's
he was
very
literally
random.
tired for this one too, where he'd been
Yeah.
up for like 3 days and maybe he just wasn't thinking clearly from the aspect of getting caught. Maybe he didn't want to get caught, but he wasn't.
Dude,
he didn't have the mental.
He could have been an insomniac as well, and that could have just amplified all of his mental illnesses.
Well, he had gone for we kind of passed over it, but he had lived in Hawaii for a short stint. Somewhere in the middle of this, I think after leaving his girlfriend or
Yeah.
fiance,
yeah,
and being on the outs
he
with
got
his
left
family.
in Hawaii.
Yeah, being on the outs with his family, and I think this was during the time when he was living with a bunch of drifters in San Francisco in
Yeah.
dilapidated apartments. He moves with one of the guys he met in San Francisco to Hawaii.
Well, they
to
were
Maui.
supposed to just visit Hawaii.
That's right. They went there temporarily.
yeah.
Right? This guy took him on a trip there, and some speculate maybe he took him there and left him there just to get rid of him.
Yeah,
Anyways, he goes on a trip with this guy that he met to Maui, and there he gets introduced to meth by the locals.
Yeah.
It's a big problem in Hawaii. You know, it's a whole different topic, but meth is a big thing in Hawaii.
it's a big thing everywhere now.
Right, but Hawaii seems specifically like there's definitely a underground
Really?
culture of meth addicts in Hawaii and certain on the islands. Anyways, he gets introduced. I don't know how big it is anymore, but I know at one point it was out of control.
Gotcha.
He gets introduced to meth, which is just kind of talking about snowball
Oh, yeah.
effect.
God.
Meth to this dude is like got to be the worst thing you could introduce him to because it
Yeah.
just keeps him up for days and his mind's already going a million miles an hour thinking crazy thoughts.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't know if he was still doing meth, but at the point that this final murder happens, he claims that he was up for days. Like
I'll
3
tell
or
you
4
what's the
days.
whole craziest thing about that story is that these homeless guys can afford to go to Hawaii.
Right.
I mean, I can't even afford to go to Hawaii. I'm like, how did they do that?
I don't know. It's confusing to me.
Like,
Maybe
just
the
like-
guy that took him to Hawaii wasn't homeless. Maybe he just met. I don't know how.
I got you.
We're going down a bad road.
yeah, because we're taking stories from a man with mental illness. So you got to take it for what it is, I guess.
Something happened. He went to Maui with a guy. The guy left him there. Some say that it was because Herbert had made a sexual pass at him.
Yeah.
And the guy wasn't interested, and so he just left Herbert there.
They probably just want to get rid of him at this point. Like, because this point is not too far before his capture.
Yeah.
And he was getting kind of crazy. Mm-hmm. Like he was getting very vocal with it and just shouting things and shouting at these voices. And I'm sure it was hard to be around. It was probably hard to sleep. I'm sure the guy never slept.
Yeah.
So he was causing a lot of friction within the house, I guess.
Yeah, and so this final victim, he had been up for several days. He's driving around in his car, and he spots a man who's out working, like in his yard. He's got his garage open. You picture an older guy. He's retired. He's 72 years old. His name is Fred Perez. He was a former boxer and veteran. Just kind of out working on his yard with his garage open.
Yeah.
Nice sunny day. It's daylight, midday.
Right.
Herbert pulls over his car, takes out the rifle that he had gotten from the camp where he killed the 4 boys, aims it at Fred, and shoots him almost directly through the heart, killing him instantly.
That's crazy because wasn't that rifle a 22?
Yeah. 22s can be pretty accurate, and if you hit somebody in the right spot,
I mean, I know, but
we know
it's
they
got to
can be
be the
deadly.
right spot, though.
and he hit him in the right spot. I don't know if this
Apparently.
thing had a scope or if he just got lucky or Herbert was a dead eye. I don't know.
Jesus. Well, I know
But it
his,
didn't
his
sound like he
father
was.
taught him
Didn't
how to
sound
shoot.
like, yeah, didn't
His
sound like
father-
he was right up on top of Fred either. It sounded like he was a bit of a distance away.
Yeah. It may have had a little scope on it.
Yeah. Well, he nonetheless, this guy was also 72 years old, so
Yeah.
probably not gonna fight off getting shot quite as well as a younger
That's true.
person.
That's true.
Anyways, he killed this guy dead right in his front yard. Then Herbert got in his car and just kind of sat there with the rifle in his hands for a bit.
Yeah, the book described it as he just held it like a child, like he was like coddling the rifle or something.
Now, he had been seen through the window by a neighbor. Obviously, it's broad daylight, and you hear a gunshot outside your window, even though a 22 is not that loud. It's still loud enough on just a regular day in a neighborhood
Oh,
to where a
absolutely.
neighbor looks out the window, got a great description of...
Finally, a decent witness.
This is the first time you have a real witness,
Because
aside from the church, but that
Yeah.
obviously the parishioner just...
Nobody reported the gunshots at either of those drug dealers' house.
Yeah.
You know, when he went and killed James and his
Yeah.
wife, nobody reported those gunshots. Nobody reported when he killed the lady and the kids. That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
They lived in neighborhoods.
Do you think it had something to do with those were drug houses in a sense? Or
It could have been. That's what I was thinking. It had to have been. People were probably thinking, well, they get what they get.
yeah,
You know what I'm
maybe they
saying?
weren't great neighborhoods. I don't know. Like maybe look the other way in bad
Yeah.
neighborhoods. We've seen that.
Because he was using a 38 or something then?
Yeah.
He was making a little more noise.
Yeah,
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
That nobody called and said anything.
right. Well, he sits in the car for a little bit, and then he eventually does put the rifle under the seat and drive away. But the lady who had witnessed it out her window had gotten his license plate number, a description of the car, and a description of the shooter.
She killed it.
Yeah, she did a great job. She's one of those neighborhood watch ladies. Police pull him over in the car shortly thereafter because of the license plate matching,
Right.
and basically take him into custody. And once in custody, they would begin to interrogate him. And he was quite cooperative, and they realized that they may have a dude with some issues because some of the stuff
Right.
he was saying was very off the wall.
And like we mentioned, with this last murder, it seemed like he was wanting to be caught. It seemed like he was just tired.
Yeah.
I mean, why else would you shoot someone in broad daylight and then sit there?
Which says something about maybe he was doing it unwillfully and because of the voices in his head.
That's true.
Is that he
That's a
wanted
good
to
way
be
to look
caught
at it.
because like he didn't want to do this, but he was being
He
in his own
needed
mind.
somebody to intervene to stop this,
Right.
like physically stop this, or he couldn't. I don't think at this point. And like you said, yeah, I think he was just tired, and that's why he just sat there.
Yeah.
He was like, well, I'll just sit here while someone gets a description of my car and sees this dead man lying feet away from me or whatever.
And I'll drive slowly down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, he wasn't even like trying to get a quick getaway. He was just slow.
Right.
He was like driving under
it
the
was
speed
by
limit.
no means a drive-by. It was a
Right.
drive up, park, shoot, sit there.
Yeah. It's just a shame that he had to kill another innocent old man in order to get caught. He could have just turned himself in, but
Yeah, no, really.
one last sacrifice, I suppose. Now, like we were alluding to, what was some of the off the wall stuff he was saying when the police were talking to him? Stuff about the Die song.
Yeah, he was saying that people sing the Die song, and the police were like, "What are you talking about? What is this Die song?" And he was like, "Well, imagine people are sitting in the White House." Like the things he was saying just wasn't making any sense. He was like, "Imagine you're sitting in the White House and you realize that a sacrifice has to be made to save thousands." He's like, "And that's why they sing the Die song. They tell you that you have to die, but people won't kill, but people won't murder." He's like, "So I have to." Like it was crazy.
I think what he was trying to say is like the government will pull strings and kill people on a whim.
Yeah, I know what I'm saying doesn't make
For the
any
greater
sense,
good,
but
so
this is
maybe-
exactly how he talked. Like it was crazy.
Right. I mean, a lot of schizophrenics, they're real heavily into conspiracies, and maybe he was basically,
Right.
in a way, he was saying that government and like the military, they pull strings and they just cost lives on a whim, and it doesn't seem to bother them, and it's all for the greater good to save other lives and stuff like
Right.
that. Maybe he was trying to justify it in that sense, but his way of doing it is it's not actually saving thousands of other lives except in his own mind.
Yeah.
He's not stopping earthquakes by killing one random person, but the government may have to, in order to kill, say, one person, one terrorist, there may be other. I mean, everyone has their own beliefs on that,
Right.
whether, collateral damage is accepted in war or not. But, that might have been the direction he was going, is that higher up institutions will kill people,
Yeah.
will make choices that kill innocent people, and it's for the greater good of other people, or...
Yeah, something like that.
That seemed like to me like he was going down this kind of conspiracy road where other people were willing to kill him. The Die song was kind of weird though. It was a
The
weird
Die
weird
song
way of
just kept
describing
tripping
it.
me out. Yeah.
Weird way of describing it. But yeah, so they had a lot on him though. So because they found the rifle and handgun in his car, the police were able to obtain a search warrant for his apartment. In his apartment, they found newspaper clippings about all the murders that he committed. They also found several personal items from few of the victims, which is a common serial killer theme. They say
Right.
a keepsake. Ballistics were also able to link him to the Francis and Gianero family with his handgun. The 4 teenagers were found 3 days after Mullin's arrest, and ballistics also linked him to their deaths. He had the .22 rifle in his
Yeah,
possession
still
as
had
well.
it, yeah.
And so he would be indicted on 13 counts of murder, and the trial would be kind of a circus. He would persist on defending himself. He didn't want a court-appointed lawyer.
Or not really.
He was kind of even
defending
shitting on the lawyer that they gave him, saying that the guy had long hair and he didn't want this guy
Yeah.
representing
It's like,
him.
dude, you had long hair like 2 months ago. Like, what?
Yeah, they obviously took the insanity defense,
Right.
And they were trying to prove that he was not fit to stand trial. They did, however, find that he was fit to stand trial after being evaluated on several occasions.
Mm-hmm.
They basically determined that he, on at least most of these murders, was doing it knowing it was wrong
Mm-hmm.
and trying to cover up his own tracks. And in the end, they found him.
And by the definition that they had at that time, that means you're sane.
Yeah.
Let's just say that. I mean, obviously now I feel like he gets a different trial in 2018.
Yeah.
But in the early 70s, if you could distinguish
By their
wrong from
definition,
right,
they did the right thing at the time.
they did.
And I
that's
think
what
they
I'm saying.
got it
They had
perfect.
nothing else to go by.
They got it perfect from that time's definition in that they found him guilty of 10 counts of first-degree murder.
Yeah.
And basically the first 3 they didn't try him for because they found that he was mentally insane, and he was hearing voices that told him to do those, and he was out of his own control for the homeless man, for the woman on her way to the interview, and then for the priest.
Right.
Those three he did on a whim with no premeditation and no real chance, like he didn't give any effort to cover his tracks. Like the homeless man, he just left laying where he was,
Right.
in his own blood. He didn't granted there wasn't a whole lot to link him to anything there, but then the woman on her way, like he stabbed her in his own car with blood, like he had blood all over his own vehicle.
Yeah.
And then with the priest, he did it in a church in front of a parishioner.
Yeah.
Like he should have been caught there.
Yeah, he
if that
definitely
parishioner
should
did
have
the
been
right
caught.
thing and like got a good description and like did anything, try to stop him from killing the priest, that's asking a lot. Not everybody's able to just respond like that. But at the same time, I agree in that sense. But I think when he started to do revenge killings and started to try and cover his own tracks, he seemed to get off on murdering at a certain point and liked to do it. He even admitted that he was doing it because he liked it at one point.
But do you think somewhere he rationalized that, okay, these voices want me to kill, so I have to kill. So I might as well kill someone who has wronged me. Yeah. Or I might as well kill someone who, in his opinion, is not contributing to society or is doing something wrong. Like even if it's as simple as littering, like those kids were at the campsite, at least he had an excuse in his mind. Or like the drug dealer that apparently ruined his life.
I think he was subconsciously making these decisions and telling the voices to tell him to do it. I don't think...
Well, of course.
If that makes sense, I think that's
how schizophrenia
he would
works.
subconsciously say, "Hey, voices, give me a reason to kill these people," and then the voices would kick in and go, "You need to kill them, or else an earthquake's going to happen." You know what I mean? Ultimately, I think it was him that wanted to do it, and then the voices would confirm that.
But I'm talking about as far as selection later on. I feel like they just got more selfish and more selfish,
right,
as the killings went on. I mean, aside from the older gentleman that he killed in the yard. Aside from him, I think it just kind of got selfish. Like even when he killed those boys, like would he have killed those boys if they would have just picked up the trash? If they would have just been like, "Oh, well, sorry about that," you know?
Yeah, I think he would have.
You think he would have still killed him?
Yep, I do. I think they would have picked up the trash. He would have said, "All right," and then left, and then came back later because the voices would have told him he still needed to kill him.
Yeah, but why though?
Just because he could, because they were there and they were vulnerable, and he wanted to kill. I think ultimately he wanted to kill.
Yeah,
especially after the first one. I think maybe the first one was like out of his control. Like it was just this impulse to, and maybe he did believe the voices, something bad was going to happen.
Right.
But then after that, I don't know. The guy was obviously mentally unstable and had a real disorder that he was diagnosed with, schizophrenia and paranoid schizophrenia. And that's a serious, serious condition. And it's quite common.
Yeah.
And it's a shame. And it's a shame he didn't stick to treatment. And I mean, they really couldn't force him out. Yeah. And I kind of agree with it. I mean, at a certain point, like, can you just keep people if they haven't done anything, if they haven't harmed anyone physically, can you keep them against their will, locked in an institution, force them to take treatment when they don't want to be there?
Especially when they have that side of them that can function in society. Like he did.
He could have taken a good turn at any point, but he kept doing drugs. I think that was probably the biggest problem, was him with his disorders, and drugs were just a deadly cocktail, and no one was able to get him on the straight and narrow for very long. He kept turning to his comfort zone of doing drugs, and probably thinking back to his old buddy Dean and how it would have been different had he not died. And and unfortunately, a lot of innocent people died. Now I'm seeing here on the timeline that it says that he was found guilty on second-degree murder of 8 counts. I said first degree of 10, but either way, he was given life in prison, and where he remains to this day. He was not given the death penalty. This is in California. It was in the early 70s, and obviously with his mental condition, he wasn't tried for capital murder.
Right.
He's still alive and incarcerated at Mule Creek State Prison in Lone, California. He's in his 70s now.
70s now, yeah.
Yep. So.
Yeah. He tried for parole a couple times, but apparently he was kind of an asshole.
He probably didn't expect to get out.
Well, the biggest thing is he's never taken responsibility for the murders.
Yeah. He blamed it on his father. He blamed it on...
he always blames it on somebody.
He blamed it on the Coast Guard not letting him in. He blamed it on the Marines not letting him in. It was always... And you can even hear in the interview on YouTube, you can find short clips of a taped interview that someone did with him. Very short clips, but you can kind of get an idea into his
His psyche.
And his blaming others for these horrific actions
Lack of
that he took.
responsibility. Yeah.
Lack of responsibility. Now, I do think he needed to be locked away. I don't think, but I think he needs to be provided with proper medication while in jail and probably kept away from others. We didn't talk about how at one point when he was in jail, he was kept with Edmund Kemper.
Oh, yeah.
And Edmund Kemper kind of made him his bitch.
Yeah, like in between his trials, right? Or
Edmund Kemper basically was like dominating him while in this. They were sharing a cell.
Yeah.
And Kemper would like throw water on him if he was like singing and tell him to stop singing.
He would dominate him mentally and physically.
It got to the point where Herbert was asking Kemper if he could like do this or that, if he could sing at any given point. Kemper would have to give him permission.
No, I don't think you can.
Right. Yeah. So
it's rather terrible.
Yeah. So that's Herbert Mullin. That's basically
him.
the short
gist.
That's the gist of the Herbert Mullin story.
Yeah, at the beginning of the book, I thought he was going to be a lot different than the other serial killers, but all in all things considered, I think he's got a lot of
They all have their
serial
reasons
killer
why.
attributes.
I mean, what is it? What did BTK called it? Factor X.
Yeah.
Maybe his Factor X was the voices telling him that if he didn't sacrifice someone, others were going to die.
Right. I feel like every serial killer, though, at some point in time has claimed to hear a voice or two.
But most serial killers, their disorder is extreme narcissism, I feel like, whereas his was like a true disorder where you could see, like there was moments where you're like, okay, this guy's, his mind's like
Yeah.
like the part of our brain that controls us or who we are, like it was getting overtaken by other parts. The voices in his head were dominating his actual voice.
Right.
Like with the mimicking his brother-in-law, that to me says something about it where he didn't know what that was and he was doing it well before it was a well-known thing.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
And maybe like that was part of it. Maybe killing people, he kind of felt like he took a little part of them.
Right.
Almost like that's why he kept the mementos in the.
We're so far from experts on mental health and disorders like we're just.
That's why I say it started.
We're giving our opinions, guys. So don't get upset with us if we're off on things. But
yeah, we're just having a discussion here.
That's why we don't do these cases often. But I thought this one was just really interesting, and his crimes were just so crazy to me. I think the church
it's so
one,
random. It's so different. Yeah.
That church one was unlike any murder that I've ever heard on this.
You can totally just picture that, like
just picture him in the little room with
like a wide shot,
slide open window, and he confesses it, and then like, do you think he saw the realization in that priest's eyes, like, oh God.
Yeah, through that like little mesh window that they look through,
right?
He just gets out, Father,
right? You there?
He's just running,
right? Oh man. Yeah. Well, that's it. You want to do some advertising and some shout outs and get the hell out of here?
Let's do it.
We got a week off next week. I'm going out of town. So.
Yep. So we will take next week off and then we'll
do the giveaway.
Patreon episode.
We're doing the giveaway next week.
Yeah, the Patreon episode will still be on the 1st. The giveaway will still be on the 1st.
We're going to record a quick thing before I leave to give away. We're going to record the giveaway.
Right.
And we're going to study for 2 weeks for our next Patreon episode.
Yep.
Patreon.com/truecrimeguys. We're going to do a big hitter. We don't know which one yet. We're going to decide that this weekend.
Right.
Hit us up with a suggestion in the next day if you want to get it out there. But think big name ones
big
that we
hitter,
haven't done yet.
Lots of info, lots of resources. We're looking.
A great book would be great.
Yeah, yeah. One that we don't have to actually physically read. That'd be great.
A great book that has an audio form.
Audio book.
You could do like In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. That's supposed to be like one of the best true crime books of all time.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. I'm down. How long is it? Like 20 hours?
Probably.
Fuck.
But I'm kind of I'm ready for a great, like one of the great books. Like we've been reading like books that are great for studying for a podcast, but I want to read like one that I get deep into. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I'm selfish.
Yeah, right. I just want to have enjoyment out of it.
Yeah.
I don't care if you get yours or not.
Fuck y'all. All right. You want to talk Oh My Gaia?
Yeah, let's do it.
Our number one sponsor is Oh My Gaia. She's like our featured. Her products are fantastic.
They really are fantastic. We believe in them. We use them. They're great products.
I've got the beard oil in right now. I've got the deodorant on right now. Lumberjack for me.
I like Egyptian musk, which I am wearing every day. Actually, had somebody at work ask me the other day, like, "Hey man, what cologne you use?" It's like, actually, don't use cologne. It's just all natural deodorant.
That's how good this stuff smells.
Gotta get the switch. It smells amazing.
And my pits are nice and dry.
There you go. So, Oh My Gaia, you're wondering what it is. It's an innovative, all-natural deodorant, fragrance, and beard oil company specializing in paraben and aluminum-free products.
All natural, baby.
That's right. Their innovative line of deodorants inhibit the growth of odor-causing bacteria while maintaining effectiveness.
Aluminum's a great thing. Just not, you don't really want it in your deodorant. You know what I'm saying?
And you don't
like
wanna,
airplanes and things like that. It's fantastic.
Maybe like
don't want it soaking into your skin and getting into your bloodstream and stuff. I don't imagine that's not very good.
No. Maybe like you save that for like race car frames and shit.
Yeah.
You know
exactly.
what I mean? Yeah.
You want to be lighter and more sturdy. It doesn't work through deodorant.
Right. Maybe a nice BMX bike frame.
Yeah.
Maybe you'd appreciate it, but don't put it in your armpits.
No.
It's no good.
Yeah.
So at Oh My Gaia, they use only all natural, paraben, and aluminum-free organic ingredients. We got a few scents here. Let's see. We got unscented, vanilla, cherry almond, sandalwood, lavender, lemongrass, Egyptian musk, which is my favorite, coconut, dreamsicle, leather, lumberjack. That's what Lauren prefers. Honeysuckle, and limited edition bergamot amber. There's others as well. These are just a few.
Wow.
There's a shit ton.
I think the next one I'm going to try is cherry wood. That sounds good.
I think we have that one.
Do you?
Yeah.
You have them all, man.
Yeah.
Got the whole collection.
We got quite a few of them over in the in my household. So.
Right on. Yeah, so check out Oh My Gaia, ohmygaia.com, right? How do you spell it?
Right. OHMYGAIA.com. And you can use the code
word
right now. You can use the code word. You can use the code word Crime Guys. It's all one word, Crime Guys, for 15% off. And that's ohmygaia.com or at ohmygaia on Instagram. You can check her out on there. We just did a giveaway with her this past week. So we gave away free thing. It should be this Sunday. It's Friday right now, but maybe the day that you're listening to this.
Right.
But yeah, amazing products. She's been a great sponsor. Go check her out. What other shout outs we got, man?
All right, we got actually I have a new review on Stitcher.
Oh, okay.
It was a really good one from Brooke C. So thank you for that, Brooke.
Oh, thank you,
and
Brooke.
then also I want to note PZW from iTunes. Mm-hmm. Another great review. So if you guys get a minute, go over to iTunes or Stitcher, whatever thing you're using, rate and review.
Right.
If you don't want to write a review, you don't have time for that or whatever, just click 5 stars. That helps out with the show.
We're almost at 500.
We're almost
reviews.
at 500, so man, we're
So
like right on
close.
we're like 493 on iTunes. So
close.
Help us get over that hump, guys. If you have like multiple iTunes accounts, go
Yeah.
click 5 stars. Again.
Can you review multiple times? Does it take your old review out? Because somebody has.
You can't do it like multiple times with the same
Okay.
with the same iTunes account. I mean, it'll replace the old one. You can update it, but it's
Yeah.
not like you're getting multiple. So if you have
So if you
if
gave
your
us a bad
husband
review in
or
the
your
past-
wife has an iTunes account, use
Yeah.
theirs, and then it doubles down.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Yep.
You can even copy and paste and say the same thing. We don't care.
Right on. What else? Sticker purchases. Go ahead with what you were going to say, and then I'll get
I was just going to say that on truecrimeguys.com. We have our new stickers in, the I'm a Creeper stickers with the heart with the headphones.
Yep.
That's going to be, our new sticker that we're going to keep in for a while. We still got some old Creep Van stickers, but we're not ordering any more of those.
I want to thank some of the people that ordered stickers this week. Yeah, so if you go to truecrimeguys.com and then at the top you click on stickers, you donate a few bucks, we'll send you whatever designs you want. Just send us what design you want.
Yeah.
We still have the OG, so we get people that request that because we are running low on those and we're not ordering anymore. So
Right.
if you want the OG red Creeper Van sticker, order quick because they're running out. So
Right.
some people order those, and then some people want the new I'm a Creeper with
Yeah.
the heart and the headphones.
And we also got the Let's Go Do Cult Shit ones as well.
Right.
And a few more of those.
So Brittany Schultz, what's up, Brittany? She ordered stickers this week. Also, let's see, Mark W. in New Zealand ordered stickers this week. So I've got to use like 10 stamps for that.
Yeah.
And then also Carlos A. in California. What's up, Carlos? Thank you for ordering stickers. Those will be on their way soon. I'm shipping them out today.
Oh,
So if
good.
you want stickers, go hit that up. Find us on Twitter, on Instagram, at True Crime Guys. Hit up our Facebook
Right.
page. Give it a like if you haven't already. Hit the closed group run by Michelle K. Thank you, Michelle.
Right? And most importantly, check out the Patreon.
Oh, yeah.
That's where shit goes down. Guys, we put in a
11
lot of work in the
episodes.
Patreon. There's 11 episodes on there right now. There's bonus material. There's conversations with fans.
You get in on the giveaways, the monthly giveaways.
Get on the monthly giveaways, which will be taking place the first.
Everything we're saying right
always
now, you get all that for $2 a month.
$2 a month.
11
That's it.
episodes, bonus photographs, like all
Yeah.
kinds of fun
And
stuff.
we give away good shit too.
We give away T-shirts, backpacks, all kinds of stuff. We give away
Yeah.
something every month, and you get into that drawing if you donate $2 a month. You get all the episodes, plus you get in on the drawing. There's so much stuff you get over there for $2 a month.
What are we giving away this week?
And then also, if you want to go a little crazy and go $5 a month, you can get the gold Creep Van sticker, which is only a few select people in this world have those.
That's true.
Those things are gold.
That's true. The gold Creep Van stickers. And then for 10, you can have a Skype conversation with us, and then we'll edit it as you see fit or whatever, and place it up if that's cool with you. We've done that with a couple people already. It's pretty fun.
If you're one of those people that like can't get enough of like the big hitter serial killer information, we've done almost all the big ones on Patreon. We've done BTK, Ted Bundy,
Dahmer, Gacy.
Yep.
So many.
I mean, most of those are 2.5, 3 hour episodes as well. Like
we also do off ones too, like Jim Jones, West Memphis 3, Ruby Ridge. Yep. So there's Tookie Williams, leader of the Crips. Yep. That was one of our favorites. So there's a lot of heavy hitters on there, and they're typically longer episodes too. If you're looking 2.5, 3 hours. Yeah. I mean, they're longer episodes. We really put in the research because with those heavy hitters, we're trying to find stuff that maybe you haven't heard before.
We've had several people tell us that Ted Bundy, that they're like, man, I thought I knew everything that I could know. I was kind of not that excited that you guys put that up because I was like, more Ted Bundy. I'm just going to hear the same stuff. But I guess we were able to impress them in that they heard some things they hadn't heard, or maybe they had a different outlook on him after they heard our episode.
We hit a look every now and then.
Yeah, we try to look at things a little bit differently than the status quo. So you never know what you might find out about your favorite serial killer, or maybe you'll hate us and say you guys have no idea what you're talking about. Either way, it's worth $2, right?
Either way, hey.
Yeah. All right, guys. So that's about it. Thanks for tuning in. Tell a friend. That's about it.
Yeah.
Keep creeping.
Keep creeping, guys.